And that's eventually going to happen, I think, across the institution.
Debbie?
Earlier you said, Dr. Haeger, that we have an enormous resource in faculty allotment of time, per se, and if needed, we could designate more of that toward teaching to help with whatever. So my question is, how are the Department of P&T guidelines going to keep up with that?
That's Liz's problem.
The question is, how are departmental guidelines for P&T going to keep up with this change in responsibilities? You know, we are not going to change ABOR COFS document. Now we know that our COFS document we interpret somewhat differently than U of A and ASU. Our faculty, for the most part, do not have the same research profiles as some of the faculty at U of A and ASU, because we have been primarily a teaching institution with selected areas of very strong research, but not equal involvement in research. I think what we have to do is we have to say, we have got to recognize that student-related responsibility is a really big part of everyone's commitment to student success. And I don't expect to see a senior faculty member who is research active, you know, coming into the university college while they're, you know, also trying to build a research portfolio for tenure. So if you are a junior faculty member and you are yet to go up for tenure, I would think that it would be your job and that of all chairs to make sure that the faculty members have time that is protected for research, which we hope will generate dollars, but it doesn't always. But that's a really important part, and that's why this has to be done on a case-by-case basis with individual SOEs. We don't want to take a risk that a junior faculty member would have no research or scholarly record and would get to tenure and would get a negative decision because they hadn't been engaged in research. But a senior faculty member who hasn't done research in 15 years, like me, you know, I could teach another course if I were a senior faculty member, which I'm never going to be. So, been there, done that. So I think we do have to protect it, and that's why this has to be done on a case-by-case basis. And we are talking about, you know, that chairs would work with faculty on SOEs for the next year that would reflect these principles. Yeah, Mark.
Could you give us an operational definition for research active?
Okay.
We're recording this, Liz.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Well, I'm just going to give you an example from my own career, because that way I won't be talking about any of you or your files that I read. Okay, so as a young whippersnapper, I was doing a lot of research with Native Americans. I was going back and forth to the reservation. I was gathering data. I was publishing a couple of articles every year. I wrote a book. 20 years later, I published a second book that took me 10 years of research. I continued to publish a couple articles every year. I don't think that research active means that you go and give a scholarly paper once a year. I think scholarly papers should be results of your research, not the point. Well, I need to give a paper so that I can get a good grade. You know, no, your papers that you present nationally should be a reflection of your research. And so I think that if you have it published in 5 years or even 3 years, I would say, are you really engaged in research? And once again, it's an individual thing. You look at a faculty member and they're involved, like I was, in a 10-year project with the prisons. You know, I'm not going to be able to publish the results every year. And so it might take 5 years, but then a slew of articles all appeared at one time. And so that's going to be your responsibility to say, if someone does not have a program, a research program, you know, then they should be teaching more. In reviewing sabbatical applications this last couple of weeks, it's been pretty interesting. I sent a few back. And the reason I sent a few back was because Professor X was going to say, well, I'll do a little bit of this, I'll do a little bit of that, and do a little bit of this, and I'll have a really good time on my sabbatical. And I'm saying, you don't really have a research program, you're just doing little things in order to, you know, fulfill your sabbatical. So would you say that a person's doing an evaluation of student learning in their class would be sufficient reason to take a sabbatical? a semester at full pay to do analysis of student learning in your class? So I've said no. So that one, I would say that would be a person who would not be really research active. You know what it is in your field. It's all relative to your discipline.
Actually, the people who would be really have the most difficult time are going to be chairs and deans. I mean, this isn't, what we're presenting is a way in which we can rationalize faculty load to live within the budget we're going to have over the next probably 3 to 5 years. But it is a change in culture. I mean, it's just a huge change in culture, and we're really aware of that. And I'll go back to using myself as an example. I taught for a lot of years, and I never thought I was responsible for my students' success. I thought that was their problem. And I wouldn't probably accept this change as a teaching faculty member when I really understand it and say, boy, I'm really into this. It is change. In some colleges, more so than here. Imagine the change this presents in the social sciences and humanities. I mean, it's huge because, in effect, rationalizing faculty load is very, very difficult. And if you're a chair, to say to a colleague, well, actually, I don't think you're research active, and I think you ought to be teaching more, will drive a lot of people out of being chairs. I mean, I've been there. That's a very difficult conversation to have. Yes.
Do students have to declare a major to be in the university college?
The question is, do students have to declare a major to be in the university college? And the answer is no. 86% of our students come in undeclared. So university college will be something in which they will be sort of filtered in as a way of saying you have a home. Now, not everybody is going to really take advantage of all the things that we're going to offer in that home. The faculty will be the faculty of the university college, but students will avail themselves of things as they are in FI courses or not. So it isn't really that the student is going to declare, yes, I'm in the university college. If the student wants to be in the College of Health and Human Services and they want to major in dental hygiene, that's where they're going to be. But they'll still be the beneficiaries of the FI courses and how they're taught.
So as we're talking just a little bit about faculty, what likely will happen in the future in this rationalizing faculty loads is we'll still go out and search for tenure and tenure track faculty. They will come in, but I suspect that non-tenure track faculty numbers will continue to increase simply because of the amount of money the institution has and a function of how many research active faculty can the university actually afford. We haven't answered that question. We don't even have a metric to figure that out yet, but that is one of the questions that will be out there.
Seems like there's a balance between faculty responsibility for student success and student responsibility for student success. Is there anything being looked at the admission process that people are being admitted with a reasonable chance rather than those worst case scenarios?
The question is are we looking at other parts of the university in a sense to assure student success? And what about the students we admit to the university? Should we begin to look at, in a sense, admission standards? The quickest way to student success is to raise the bar and let fewer students attend college. Quickest way. The question is, there's a social question here. If you need a baccalaureate degree to succeed in this economy, every report suggests that to be the case, is the right social policy to deny students access to that. And so far we have said, no, we think we want to give as many students a chance as we can, but I think we can be much more careful about the students in terms of understanding their profile. Student Affairs, I don't know if you know this, actually works with an outside company. And what they do is they identify the students by profile. Didn't do that well on SATs, maybe not, didn't do very well in math. And they actually give them a coach that calls the student from off campus and tracks that student through the years, that group of students tends to be retained at a very high level.
And just to add one comment, there are going to be deadlines for admission. What admissions folks are telling us is that by not having a firm fixed deadline, students are saying, well, you know, that's my fallback college. I don't really need to give them notice that I'm really coming by X date. But that is going to be changed this year. And because the students who are least able to commit are those students who are likely to be more marginal in terms of their academic skills. So we will see whether or not having fixed deadlines makes a difference in signaling someone's real intentionality and commitment.
What about the transfer students? Has data on their retention available?
Question is, what about transfer students? There is data available. I'm going to be careful about not giving you figures because I don't have them right at the top of my head. But actually, a student who attends a community college for a full 2 years and comes to us tends to graduate. They have a high graduation rate.
Well, and part of that is because the students who are at greatest risk are freshmen. And a student who transfers here has had 2 years of college successfully under their belt, and they're more mature and they're ready to make that next step.
But there's a fair amount of students that don't fit that category with 2 years and then don't fit the freshmen, and they're caught between. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, there are students in the community colleges, and one of the reasons for our joint admission program, which we got a state award for about a month ago, when we admit a student jointly, we get them on a baccalaureate track from day one so that we don't get students who are meandering through the community college and then they meander their way over to the university and wonder why none of their courses transfer. I think joint admission is eventually going to end transfer.
I am involved with the academic coaching program, and I think that is a great way to get started. But piggybacking on what Rob said, maybe people who come in with a low GPA or something from high school, maybe that could be a requirement that they have to, if they want admission, they have to be part of the university college. They have to be part of an academic coaching program or something, because the 3 girls I've been put up with are all getting straight A's and B's, and they don't need a coach. I think the students who are, sure, I'll take the coach, I'll take the extra help, they're the ones who are going to be okay on their own. And so maybe it needs to be a requirement for those low entry students.
And I'm not sure it's not a requirement, but I will check into that. I actually think you're right. You can identify the students who are going to have trouble. Okay.
So if we take Eileen's question, that would be the last question.
Okay.
We're going to need to go.
Liz, I don't remember the name of the new degree we just approved in the curriculum committee. The new
We have so many. Which one?
Yeah, the new bachelor's degree.
Oh, the Bachelor of University Studies.
Yes, is that going to be in the university college?
Yes.
So the faculty there are going to manage those students?
Yes. And mostly the Bachelor of University Studies is going to be a degree option that will largely appeal to students who've got half of their college career done. They've got most of their gen ed, but they want to finish a degree and to find a way to combine a couple of minors or in the future to build an integrated program will be very appealing to them. But I don't think we'll see huge numbers of freshmen coming into a more unstructured degree program.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you
We
very
got it
much.
right.
That's why we always come here first.
Thank you.